What's up, everybody? We're going to talk today about Darvin Ham's introduction as Lakers head coach. Unfortunately, we are going to have to look at tweets. I tried to make a video with the actual press conference footage so I can react to that. But yeah, copyrights and stuff. So yeah, I don't feel like getting a copyright strike. You feel me? So we're going to do it this way. We're still going to talk. We're still going to have a good time. I'm going to have chapters down below if that's what interests you. You want to see a specific part. But we're going to hop around into this, right? So the first one from Mike Trudell. An A+ follow if you like Lakers content. But the sweet jump shot, the no-look passes, that wasn't a part of my game. I was a blue-collar contributor. It prepares you, creates a certain type of mentality to where you don't want to cut any corners. Understand what the details are. What's crazy about Darvin Ham is when he speaks, he carries a lot of meaning in his words, right? So it's not even like just at face value. Because I already watched the whole press conference, right? They're going to do this as textbook, as nitty and gritty as you possibly can. And I think that's what's best. I feel like the Lakers, at least in recent years, they've tried to cut corners, right? They've tried to shortcuts for stuff, right? Letting Alex Caruso walk, right? As cutting cost, right? You let a guy Alex Caruso walk, you have no way to get anybody of his caliber in return. You didn't get even a second round pick. I mean, some sort of draft comp. You didn't get nothing. And look how that turned out. I mean, it's just a loss. So that's kind of rough. And like that's just off the court cutting corners. On the court, you have all types of stuff. Playing DeAndre Jordan because AD didn't want, but kind of couldn't play center because they had no wings. The only other wing that they had was Trevor Ariza, who's 98 years old and was trying to recover. So what this is telling me is like he's holding this energy with everybody, right? From Russ to Bron to AD to the end of the rotation guys. We got Winnie and Gabriel and these minimum guys who likely won't play a lot, but you still have to have that mentality. You still got to have that sort of accountability. And I feel like that's what the Lakers lacked a ton of last year was accountability. I feel like it was finger pointing and everyone was like, it's not me, it's this person. Blame someone else. And yeah, I feel like this type of culture change is going to be huge, right? Especially if you get everyone to buy in. Like, I think it's important, right? And let's look at what he's saying here, right? Blue collar contributor, it prepares you, creates a certain type of mentality, right? So like this isn't just like a culture change. He wants these guys to live with this. You feel me? So it's not even just like a when you're on the court have this type of. It feels like he wants to like change the thought process of these guys, and I feel like that's fire. This is so cool to see. That's really cool to see. Okay, tweet two, right? Defensively is where you're gonna see us make our biggest leap. And he said a really good quote around this. I mean, Mike Trudell didn't quote it on here, but he said facts over feelings about this. And I feel like that's huge about accountability. Basically saying he's not scared to hurt people's feelings to get the result that he wants to get. And I think that's so important. Is you gotta look at this like this is grown men getting paid millions of dollars. They can take some criticism, right? They can take some criticism, especially on the court when you're watching film. I know there was a lot of leaks this last year of Russ being like combative when he was approached during film sessions and stuff like that. We'll see how that goes this year. But I think defensively, that's really great because you already have cornerstone defensive player in Anthony Davis that you can build around. And Ham has experience working with someone of Anthony Davis's archetype in Giannis, right? Definitely not saying they're the same player at all or they're on the same level, but as athletic defensive 4 or 5 combos who can get buckets, who can play defense. It's the similarities there, right? You gotta admit there are some similarities between the two. So being able to coach Giannis at a good level, I think I'll definitely help coach AD at a good level. Obviously not to the same extent, but you guys get what I'm saying here. And something else that was interesting is that he said he wants Russell Westbrook to be at a championship level defender again, right? I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that. The Lakers experimented with it. I mean, I think Vogel's a better defensive coach than him. I mean, we're gonna see this year, but they was experimenting. They had Russ guarding ones, they had him guarding twos, they had him guarding small forwards. Like they were trying to see what works. And the thing is, on ball, it wasn't that much of a problem. It's just he just sleeps off ball, and that's where his problems come in, right? And that's the thing. Like same thing with Bron. On ball, not bad. Off ball, he tends to fall asleep. So it's like it's interesting. It's very interesting to see. And then like especially when you look at last year's roster, they had a lot of one way guys. Is Carmelo coming back? Is he cool not playing like that? I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Rob Pelinka did confirm that they want to get a second round pick in this year's draft, so that's gonna be cool to see. They are going to be able to get another young guy to pair with Reeves. Ham said he plans to implement a 4-out 1-in offensive scheme. If you don't know what that is, that's essentially you have 4 guys on perimeter and you have one guy, usually a big man inside the paint, and it's created to one open up driving lanes, right, to allow someone like LeBron James or Russell Westbrook to get downhill, and it allows your big man to eat because you have more spacing, right? And the only question that happens with this is, if you have Russ on the perimeter, how do you stop guys from cheating off of him? I mean, I don't think he was a bad catch and shoot guy this year, honestly. Like compared to the stigma around him is like he was just throwing up bricks everywhere. It definitely would be interesting to see that, especially Anthony Davis having a lot of room to operate. And that was one of Vogel's biggest flaws is that they were trying to like have Anthony Davis constantly like fade away from the basket, and they would get him like long twos, a lot of mid range touches and stuff, and they never really looked at him in the post that much. Anytime he really was around the basket, it was for like dump offs or like lobs so he can get a dunk or something like that. But they rarely just got him the ball on the block where he could really work inside. Some of that could be injuries. Some of that could be they didn't want that wear and tear on his body. The personnel fit, because it sounds like they want Anthony Davis to be a full five this year, right? As the 4-hour one in. But I mean, even with the 4-hour one in, you can have like a Marc Gasol that they had in 2021. You can have a center next to him that can stretch the floor, right? Like Bobby Portis, he's a 4 or 5 combo, and you can have him in a 4-out setting, right? You can have him outside. So that would be interesting to see if they have him as a 4 combo, or like if they put AD as a full time 5. I think Bron is a full time power forward at this point, so I feel like that would be a great combo right there. Best front court in the league. But the thing is, who do you have on the wings? That's the only thing. They have a lot to fill out in this roster, and they don't really have the means to do it, right? I mean, they have the taxpayer MLE. They're gonna have a second round pick, hopefully, is what Pelinka's talking about. But even then, I mean, yeah, that's 2 more guys. You're getting none back. That's cool. I don't know. Ham doesn't consider himself a defensive or offensive coach, as it all ties together. It's a 360-degree coaching style. Both parts of the floor are connected. You hear about offensive or defensive gurus. You have to be well-rounded. You have to watch the whole game, and I think that's facts. When you get dubbed on one side, it's typically because you're bad on the other, right? Vogel's a defensive coach because he's a bad offensive coach, right? And I'm not even saying that he's an awful offensive coach, but he didn't run a lot of schemes. His game plan was create offense by playing good defense, get steals, get blocks, run transition, that type of situation. And that's what is pertinent to this. And what's so cool about this too is when he was talking about what kind of assistant coaches that he would want, he said he wants guys who can participate in practices. He wants guys who can be hands-on. He wants guys who know about both sides of the ball. And that's the type of situation. And I think that is so huge, right? I feel like a lot of people can talk about basketball, but I definitely think playing basketball, you have a different experience. I definitely think like when you're in the midst of this, right? When you're in the midst of the game, you see stuff differently. Like there's stuff that I wouldn't get if I'd never played varsity basketball, right? Now, I mean, I'm not comparing this to the same level, but I'm saying it's the same situation as if you're not on the court, there's just things that you're never gonna quite grasp, right? You never gonna quite grasp how difficult it is to make defensive rotations consistently all the time and to constantly be in line. Like your team needs to be completely locked in and on the same page to consistently do that, right? But these professionals, they make it look easy because they're the top 1% of athletes in the world. I think guys really take that for granted, right? So to have a coach who can come on the floor and they can help you with that, I think that's huge. And that's why I like former players who are coaches, because no one understands what it's like to be an NBA player than an NBA player, right? No one understands what it's like to win in the NBA than someone who's won in the NBA. And if you don't know, Darvin Ham was on the 2004 Pistons, who beat the Lakers and won a championship. So, and I think that well-roundedness is good too, because I feel like some teams, a lot of teams, they focus too much on one side of the ball and they live by that, right? And I think that's why teams flare out. If you look at the Utah Jazz, they weren't a good defensive team at all, right? Rudy Gobert probably saved them from being the worst defense in the league, but they had a great offense and they focused on just making the offense so great. But then when the offense wasn't working, right, when the defense was making adjustments and they were slowing down the offense, you don't have defense to help push back on that now. So now you're really struggling because you're not getting stops and you can't get buckets. All right, and I think that's what's so crazy about it. I mean, there's some situation that works, like the 2020 Lakers, right? They had an elite defense, right? You have LeBron, who's playing at an all defensive caliber level that year. You had Anthony Davis, who's playing at like a defensive player of the year caliber, and that helps, right? Because I mean, you know that if AD's on the court, you're gonna at worst be an average defensive team, right? Probably above average at the very minimum, right? You got Braun, who's good, and you got Danny Green, who's a veteran. So, like, defense is effort based and it's like strategically based. So, as long as your system's always there, you're always going to have that to rely on. On offense, shots fall. Sometimes shots don't fall. Defense, as long as the effort's there, you always can play defense. And I think that's what's so important about having both sides. Because sometimes there's going to be teams that you just cannot stop offensively. You can try to slow them down, like the Warriors. You can try to slow them down, but you're never going to clamp the Warriors, right? They might have off nights and bad nights where they perform bad offensively, but no matter how great a defensive team you are, they're still going to be nice. They're putting up 125, 130 on your head just because they're that potent of an offensive team. So being able to have both and to make adjustments like that, I feel like that's going to be so huge for the Lakers' success going forward. Ham said he'll be collaborating with Rob Pelinka and the rest of the front office about the types of players that best fit around those returning next season. Something that was very interesting about how he worded this was that he didn't commit to much. Okay, they threw some hard questions at him. They asked about would he consider Russ coming off the bench, and he never committed to it. He went on this spiel about they talked about sacrificing all type of stuff, but he never said that he would ever have him come off the bench. He never said he would have him start. Pretty much the whole time, all he was talking about how much he would love to coach Russ and how much he's excited to work with Russ and all that type of situation, which from my standpoint looks like posturing, right? Looks like if you're in trade talks, right, you lose all your leverage, all of your advantage in this situation if you say we don't want Russ. If you publicly come out and it's like we don't want Russ, we're trying to get him off this team as soon as possible. Hopefully he's gone by the end of this week. You losing all your value, all of the point of the trade because now teams know you're desperate to move them. But if you leak all this stuff of we're great to have him, we're gonna make this work, we're gonna figure out how to keep him here. Well, now you have a little bit of leverage because now teams know they don't have to get rid of him. Like, yeah, we might work out a deal and that works out for both of us, but we can't really rob them because at the end of the day, they might be really just okay with running it back with how they are. Or maybe Ham was being serious and he seriously believes he wants to coach Russ. I don't know. But I do think if there's anybody who's going to be able to coach Russ at this point to the best of his ability, it would be a coach like Darvin Ham. He believes in his guys and he's passionate. He's going to light that fire in people. And that's what I believe it was Danny Green. He said in his podcast that it was very different playing for Frank Vogel because he wasn't an aggressive coach, right? He said he didn't like to light that fire in their players. That's what he said. Nick Nurse did it a lot. He said Pop obviously did it a lot, but he said Vogel, he just talked to guys. He never really yelled. And he said when he did yell, that's when you knew he was really mad because he never really liked to yell. But yeah, I think Russ is running out of options, man. I'm just saying because last year you could say the roster wasn't that good. You didn't have a coach who really was bought in on having you. Sure. This year, you have a coach that's bought in on you. Presumably, you're going to have a better roster that fits Russ in his circumstances if he is back next year. So, here we go. Okay, Darvin Ham said he had several productive discussions with Russell Westbrook and he initial no, okay. And the initial operative word is sacrifice. Yeah, it threw me off. That extends to LeBron, AD, and the rest of the roster as well, and it starts defensively. I think it's setting tone. I really think that's important with going into free agency is you're setting the tone of what you expect. And the thing with Ham is he's not a guy that bites his tongue. He's not a guy that will beat around the bush. If you're doing something bad, if you're not up to par, he'll let you know. And I think that's great as far as bringing up accountability. But sacrificing it is a very specific word. I wonder if they have had discussions about bringing Russ off the bench. I think that's crazy. I feel like even if you want to bring Russ off the bench, you can't just from an optics standpoint. You have a $47 million declining star, but you can't bring him off the bench. I don't know. You just can't do that. But yeah, I think he had a specific quote about AD and his defense, and basically how he's the key to this team really going to the next level is having AD playing at that 2020 level. And the thing is, people talk about AD in 2020 when they think about the bubble, they're like, oh well, he was in the bubble. There wasn't a crowd. He was playing really good because it was an open gym essentially. But no, in the regular season, he's still putting up what 25-9, like on elite defense. Like even like it's not like he was averaging 18 points per game, and then he went to the bubble and averaged 30 or something. Like, no, he was already putting up 25 and 9. And even before this, he was a pretty strong playoff performer when he got there. He just didn't get there that much. So, yeah, I feel like you get AD back to that 2020 level. Bron's still giving you a good 24, 25 a night. Russ can give you, I don't know, a good 16, 8 and 8 a night. They're gonna be different. The thing is, you gotta get there. You gotta get the role players around them. You can have a lot of expensive teams who might get players poached out this offseason. The Warriors might be one of those teams. The Bucks possibly could be one of those teams that lose players just because they just can't afford to pay them. This was a really great quote too. Asked a question about feeling pressure as the new Lakers head coach. Darvin Ham cited he was shot by a stray bullet as a kid and said that either makes you fearful or fearless, and it made him fearless. Pressure doesn't come from hoops. It's a challenge he's excited about. Yeah, pretty much he's walked into this saying, it's hoops. I feel like I know what I'm doing. I'm not scared of nothing. Essentially what he's saying, right? Even then, he was talking about when he was an assistant here and about how he's gotten a taste of it as far as like the media pressure and that type of stuff. It'll be really great to see how he looks. The thing is about playing for the Lakers, being hired by the Lakers, whether it's coaching or medical staff or whatever, is that everyone has eyes on you. Everyone does. I mean, same thing with like the Knicks, but it's really huge on the Lakers and the Knicks no matter what. If the Lakers win 10 games, they're still going to be on ESPN every other day. If the Knicks get swept in the first round, they're still going to be getting talked about in the finals in some degree. Right, even now I know there's rumors about Jalen Brunson or maybe them trying to trade for Fred VanVleet or all types they're always going to be in the news. So that is pressure. You're always got a national media attention staring at you, waiting for you to make one false move to slander your name and stuff. That's a lot of pressure. But I think if anyone got the guts for it, it's going to be a Darvin Ham. So yeah, we're going to see how he does react to it, especially being a first time head coach. But I don't think he'll have a problem with it. I don't think he's that type of guy to care what Stephen A. Smith is saying about him on First Take. I don't think he's that guy. Darvin Ham on Anthony Davis, his skill set, his size, his defensive acumen, his relentlessness defensively is key. It's going to be the foundation of the type of standard we set. We need consistency out of Anthony Davis. We need him to be healthy, playing championship level basketball. That's great. Now, what I think what's really great about this is he not only mentioned physical health, but mental health. Because a lot of people don't realize when they're slandering AD is he sees all that, right? Like he talked about last year against the Suns. He came back when he shouldn't have because he wanted to show people that he wasn't soft and that he could play through injuries and that type of stuff. And I feel like that really messes with people's head. I mean, that really messes with people's head when you slander them, especially when stuff is not in their control, right? Like, I mean, if AD plays bad, sure, slander him for that. But slander him for something that's not in his control, that's weird. But I do like how much he emphasized Anthony Davis and his importance because I think AD is more important to the Lakers next season than LeBron James is. Not that I think he'll be better, even though he should be, but I don't think he'll be that. But I think as far as a two-way masterpiece, I feel like he'll be the most important guy on defense and he'll be the second most important guy on offense. So I think when you do those two things, you are the most important piece. AD can't have another year playing 40 games. He needs to have at least a good 65, 70 next year. Bare minimum. This is bigger than just a Darvin Ham signing because I don't know if you guys are big on Twitter, on social media and stuff, but when he got hired, you had people all over the league congratulating you, right? And you're already LA as a free agent team. So now that you have a coach that's universally liked, like he's like the Quinn Cook of coaches, right? If you know about Quinn Cook, then you know. But everyone likes him. You had Trae Young, you got Draymond, you got Bam, you have DeJounte Murray, you had all these people on different platforms reaching out saying congrats coach and all this stuff like that. That's somebody that people are going to want to play for in free agency, right? So if you want somebody to come take a pay cut to go try to win, hey, come take a pay cut, come play for Darvin. And I think that's going to be really important in attracting free agents too, is he has that connection around the league. And yeah, I feel like this is just crazy. Hey, you guys let me know down below what you guys think about the Darvin Ham signing. Do you guys like this type of content where I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you guys, I'm dissecting stuff? But thank you for tuning in. This is your boy TT and I'm out of here. So peace out, y'all.